Hey everyone, Vickerman here again, and just wanted to make another end of 2015 video talking about the best expansions to games that were previously out but have now gotten big patches or new DLC packs that make a huge difference in the game. So I wanted to talk about that because that's an important part of gaming as well, and I didn't think these necessarily deserve to be part of the top 10 of 2015 because they weren't really from 2015, at least the main game wasn't. So let's get started. I'm going to do a top 5 for these instead of 10. Number 5, Space Engineers, The Planets Patch. Space Engineers, I've gotten into it here in the last few months or so. It's a good builder game. I think it's pretty nifty to make ships in space. I mean, it definitely needs some more work to more content in the game, but they made a huge step this year by releasing a planets pack. So previously, you were just on asteroids in outer space, building your ship and stuff like that. There were mods to add planets, but now it's officially in the game. You know, you have Earth, Mars, a moon. I think there's a couple different moons. And a alien planet, which is kind of like a forest type of planet. I can't exactly explain it. You know, so think Beyond Earth, basically that kind of planet. So that's a huge step for this game, and I think it's gonna help them as they move forward to add more content and make it more of a game as we go. I think this is really the big starting step for that, to have actual planets. Number 4, Age of Wonders 3, The Eternal Lords. This was a great content pack for the game. Eternal Lords added 2 whole new races and another class, and basically that is a huge increase in the amount of options for the game. Especially because the Necromancer class basically kind of changes everything else in the game, like all the other races. They are affected by you choosing the Necromancer class. I thought that the new races were pretty cool. It was kind of a fire and ice sort of situation, because we had the Tigrans, who were tiger cat-like people, and they were resistant to fire, kind of aesthetically like Egypt, you know, like a hot weather people. And then there were the Frostlings, who were, you know, basically like White Walkers and northern frosty people. So huge update to the game, added a lot more options. I really enjoyed playing the Necromancer class in my campaign that is on the YouTube channel, so check that one out. Yeah, I think this was a good. There was a bunch of other things as well, different victory conditions. It was a good expansion to an already good game, just making it better. I think that's more and more rare these days. So, number 3, Divinity Original Sin Enhanced Edition. So Divinity Original Sin was already, you know, one of my favorite games to be playing. It's a fantastic kind of co-op RPG and great world with lots of colors. You know, the combat is very interesting because of the way the elements interact, and they're just a very good, solid RPG, and I really liked it a lot. So the Enhanced Edition just made it even better with voicing everything, and adding more options for you, including dual wielding and wands. And then where previously the game was kind of isometric in a fixed camera position, now it's in full 3D camera, and you can swing the camera around wherever you want. And controller support. So they did a lot of good stuff to make that game awesome. I mean, the controller support and that kind of stuff was prompted by moving to a console release, but PC gamers got the whole thing for free, so that's excellent. And it's a big improvement, and definitely worth playing the game if you haven't finished it. finish it in the Enhanced Edition. And we will been releasing videos from Extra Life, and hopefully we'll get back into recording some more Bob Ross Divinity Original Sin videos soon. Number 2, Europa Universalis, El Dorado. This may be a little controversial because there were 3 big DLCs for Europa Universalis to come out this year: El Dorado, Common Sense, and the Cossacks. And in terms of sheer scope, of what was introduced, the Common Sense one was probably the top of the list. But I enjoyed the El Dorado release probably the most, and the big reason for that is that it introduced custom nations, which is a really, the way I like to play games like this is to have a bit of a alternate history vibe. And how more alternate history could you get than creating a nation that isn't actually there historically, and playing around with that kind of stuff. So it opens up a huge number of possibilities. Gave you a lot of new options as far as how to set up the world. I think this is even when they introduced the randomized nations, so that you could play with a completely random assortment of nations rather than the historical ones. So just opened up a lot of gameplay. The Mesoamerican updates were cool too. I didn't play a ton of that, but it really fleshed out those civilizations, made it more interesting to play over there instead of just waiting around for Europeans to show up. So yeah, I think El Dorado, for me, was the best of the EU4 expansions this year. And number 1, we have the Dwarf Fortress 2015 release. Now this release of Dwarf Fortress, it's probably not as huge of a leap necessarily as the last one, if I recall correctly, but this release basically created culture in the game. And what I mean by that is, like, now the civilizations will generate music, they'll generate poetry, they'll even generate different kinds of instruments to be played that aren't, what we know of. They'll have a randomized name and be some sort of 12-key percussive thing or something like that. So that is really cool, and it procedurally generates this stuff. And then you can have taverns, and you can have visitors of other races to come into your fortress. Eventually some of them may choose to join you, and that's really cool because it's the first time you could ever have non-dwarves in the fortress permanently. And man, just cool stuff, like making mugs so that they could be used in the tavern. Having libraries where you can assign scribes to write books that are procedurally generated and stuff. And then you can sell them, you can collect them, people come to read your library. Just lots of cool stuff. And you can always come back and see this stuff on your own in adventure mode. So yeah, really awesome stuff. Dwarf Fortress is always amazing. And with this release, they really have outdone themselves in just the world building that this will allow in a procedurally generated world that is now has a whole nother layer of interest and culture. So that's my top 5 game updates, DLC, etc. for the year of 2015. Let me know which sort of updates to previously released games that you like the most in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next video.